If you're thinking about moving to Minneapolis in 2026, there are a few things about this city that nobody tells you until you've already signed a lease or bought a house. And a couple of them can genuinely catch you off guard, from the winters to the property taxes. I'm going to give you the honest version in this video, the real cost of living, where you should actually live depending on your situation, the job market, the taxes, and stuff people fall in love with once they're here. No sugarcoating, no tourism brochure nonsense, just what you actually need to know before you go. I'm Arne Johansson. I'm a realtor here in the Twin Cities, and I've helped a lot of people relocate here from all over. So I do this conversation almost every week. I've also lived in Minneapolis for 25 years, so I know the city extremely well. Here's the most useful thing I can offer you. If you want a personalized recommendation on exactly which part of the Twin Cities fits your budget, your commute, and your lifestyle, there's a Calendly link in the description. Book a 20-minute call and I'll help you narrow it down. No pressure, no obligation, whether you're moving in 2 months or you're just starting to think about it. Now, let's get into everything you need to know. I'm starting with winter because it's the number one thing people underestimate. So let's just talk about it honestly. And I'd rather you hear it straight from me. Minnesota winters are long and they are genuinely cold. Snow can show up as early as October and stick around until April. In December, we're down to about 8.5 hours of daylight, and a lot of those hours are gray. For people coming from warmer or sunnier places, that November through February stretch is a real adjustment, and seasonal mood dips are common enough that a little light therapy and vitamin D habits aren't quirky here, they're standard. So now here's the other side, and it's true. The people who thrive here lean into winter instead of hiding from it. There's an entire culture around it: pond hockey, skiing, ice fishing, winter festivals, saunas, and some of the best park trails in the country. If you're willing to get in the right gear and get outside, winter goes from something you endure to something that you're actually looking forward to. But go in with your eyes wide open. This is the make or break factor for most transplants. So, next, let's talk about what's the actual cost to living here. Depending on which index you look at, Minneapolis lands anywhere from slightly below to modestly average or modestly above the national average. So it's not a cheap city, but compared to the coast, your dollar does go dramatically further. The same money that buys a small condo in Denver or a fixer upper in Seattle buys you a really spacious home with a yard here. But I want to flag the two things that surprise almost every newcomer. The first is your winter utility bill. Your heating costs in January can run 40 to 60% higher than they do in July. So budget for that swing instead of getting blindsided in your first cold month here. I know that my heating bills are sometimes like $150 to $200 in like January and February. The second is property taxes, and I'm going to come back to taxes in detail later because it's that important. Day to day, though, groceries, gas, a haircut, a night out, you'll find it pretty reasonable. Gas has been hovering here around $3.50 a gallon, and the median household income in the city is around $80,000, which stretches further here than in most cities on the coast. So, what does your money actually buy? So, let's just talk about houses because this is probably why you're here. As of 2026, the median home price in the city of Minneapolis sits at around 350,000, and across the broader metro you're generally looking at into the high $300,000 to $400,000, but verify the current numbers because they are changing. Well, now what matters more is what that money gets you, and it varies enormously by neighborhood. So, like if you go to Edina, you're not going to get the same house for $500,000 as you would in, let's just say, Lakeville or South Minneapolis. It just doesn't go as far there. But if you go to Brooklyn Park or North Minneapolis, you're going to get a really nice house in those neighborhoods, but you're going to be giving up location. So in South Minneapolis, I would say you can get a really nice house for $500,000 to $600,000. If you're going to spend $300,000 to $400,000, you're going to pretty much get like a starter home. So in the city of Minneapolis, a charming older home in a walkable South Minneapolis neighborhood lives very differently than new construction out in the western suburbs like Plymouth or Chanhassen for the same price. And here's a quick quirk worth knowing. Because of zoning changes the city made, you're seeing more townhouses and attached options come online in like Lakeville, Rosemount, Farmington, and Dayton, these like outer ring suburbs. So that is like one thing to pay attention to. But it does give first time home buyers more entry points. And so if you're coming from a $700,000 starter home market, you're going to feel like you've gotten a raise. So let's talk about the job market and how you're going to pay for all this, because a city is only as good as the work it offers. And this is honestly one of the Twin Cities' best kept secrets. For a metro this size, we punch way above our weight. We're home to 16 Fortune 500 companies. That's a staggering number for a market this size. The big employers you'll hear over and over are Target, United Health Group, 3M, General Mills, US Bank, Best Buy, and the economy leans heavily on healthcare and finance, with the tech sector that's growing. Unemployment here tends to be pretty low, and wages are solid against the cost of living. So I see a lot of folks moving here for Target Corporation or for the United Health campus. And here's the practical takeaway. This is a stable, diverse economy, not a one industry town, which is a big part why the housing market here doesn't whipsaw the way it does in boom and bust metros. So where should you actually live? Okay, so the question I get more than any other is, where should I live? And the honest answer is it depends entirely on your stage of life. So let me give you a quick map. If you want walkability, restaurants, and an urban feel, you're looking at the city neighborhoods, places like South Minneapolis, Southwest Minneapolis, around the lakes, or the North Loop downtown. If you've got kids and you want to prioritize schools and space, the western suburbs are very popular. Minnetonka, Wayzata, Plymouth, Maple Grove, Eden Prairie. And then on the east side, I would say there's Woodbury is extremely popular. Those names get researched by parents for the school districts before they ever look at a single family home. If you want a slower pace or lake living, there are communities a bit further out where you'll actually hear loons in the summer. So personally, I do like Prior Lake. I do like Lake Minnetonka. I like anywhere if you can be on a lake. So I would say like Prior Lake is probably one of my tops, and then I would say like Lake Minnetonka is my second favorite. But I live in South Minneapolis, and I really like being next to Lake Nokomis and the Minnehaha Creek because it's just so walkable. I have kids, And we do so many things because there's so many parks around here. So if you really want something that's really walkable, I highly recommend South Minneapolis. Now, now I've got full deep dive videos on most of these suburbs and I'll point you to them at the end, but do not pick a suburb off a list online without understanding the commute and the winter drive. That's a mistake I see constantly. So now the part I promised to come back to, and the thing I most wish people knew before they moved here are taxes. Minnesota has a progressive state income tax, and for higher earners, the top rate climbs near 10%. That's one of the higher state income tax rates in the country. So if you're coming from a no tax state like Texas or Florida, this is a real adjustment to your take home pay, and you need to factor that into your budget. On top of that, property taxes here run above average. I have been paying so much property tax over the last 5 years. It's just been really frustrating, and so many people are frustrated by the high property taxes. So, that I will say is one downside. I would like to see them get that under control and lower property taxes. So I'm not telling you this to scare you off. I'm just telling you this because I've watched people do their math on home prices and they forget about the tax side and then they feel squeezed. So do this math up front and you'll be fine. Skip it and you'll feel like every April you're just getting money taken out and you just don't know what to do. So talk to your CPA about your specific situation. I'm a realtor, not a tax advisor. So honestly, after all of that, the cold, the taxes, why do people live here and defend it so fiercely? Well, because the quality of life is actually exceptional and it sneaks up on you. We have been consistently ranked as one of the best park systems in the entire country. Like I said, it doesn't really get any better than South Minneapolis if you have kids. There's so many parks to bring them to, so many little pools, so many playgrounds, tons of baseball fields and soccer fields. If you want a great place to live in the city, highly, highly recommend South Minneapolis. There are lakes inside the city you can bike around after work, a trail network that puts most cities to shame, and the food and art scene that competes with metros 3 times the size. We do have a lot of really good restaurants here. So I like going to some of the local favorites like Matt's or 5-8 Club. Those are two of my favorites. There's a community feeling that surprises transplants. Neighbors actually snow blow each other's driveways and organize block parties. I live in South Minneapolis and my kids are friends with so many other kids in the neighborhood. There's just so much to do here. There is just a really there's it's you can be in a small community but you're in a big city and that's really what I like about it. So it's the kind of place that doesn't sell itself on a brochure, but 6 months in, a lot of people quietly realize they're not leaving. And that is why so many people end up staying here because they do fall in love despite the cold weather. The mistakes relocators make. So before I let you go, here are 3 mistakes I watch out of state movers make. So you can just skip them. One, picking a neighborhood or suburb purely off of a best places to live list without ever driving the commute or seeing it in the winter. Two, underestimating how much the school district drives both lifestyle and home value out here. Even if you don't have kids, it affects resale value. And three, doing all your budgeting on the sticker price of the house and forgetting the income tax and the winter utility swing that we talked about. The fix for all 3 of these is the same. Talk to someone local before you commit. That's literally what I do. And the first call is absolutely free. So that's the honest rundown on moving to Minneapolis in 2026. Book a call with me, absolutely no pressure, no obligation. If you're thinking about moving to Minneapolis in 2026, I've lived here for 25 years, so I know all the ins and outs of it. So I know about the winners and the real cost of living and the job market and just the best places to be. So happy to go over that with you. And if you want help figuring that out, just schedule appointment with me. So that's the honors rundown of the winters are real, the cost of living, the job market, the taxes, and I'll help you figure out your exact situation in the Twin Cities. Book a free 20-minute call with me. The Calendly link is in the description. I genuinely love helping people get this right. And if you want to go deeper, I got full playlist breakdowns for every major suburb in detail: Maple Grove, Eden Prairie, Edina, Plymouth, and more. I'll link them right here. If you're planning a move to the Twin Cities, hit subscribe because I post new local relocation guides every week so you're not figuring this out on your own. I'll see you in the next one.